Like, how do you know that this person is not a 40-year-old just creep pretending to be someone? Like, so as a father, I want to just basically send this guy some friend request and be like, yo, I swear to you, if you ain't who you say you are, I will find you. Hey, boy, gonna be loving it.
Hey y'all, welcome to the APECS Podcast, where we've got our chimichanga friend Alex.
Are we even recording?
And our
yet?
bratwurst friend Michael. How y'all doing today?
Okay, turn him down.
Bro.
Oh my
and delete him.
I don't hear it.
Turn him down and delete him.
You can't hear yourself at all, for real?
No, like I am super soft in my own ears.
And you're super loud in all of ours.
Well, sorry. It's about good decisions over long periods of time.
I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Can you hear him?
what's the topic of conversation today, boys?
Hey, boy, just coming, taking control.
I think that's on Alex's to-do list. What is it, Alex?
My list was the fact that I'm still looking at how he just. Are we supposed to call you Jonathan or?
Okay, this is Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan, lost a little weight. I know we have a meet coming up in March, and you're cutting down to 165, but I think you're below that.
Yeah, I've overachieved. I'm 15 pounds lighter than my goal.
Okay, that'll be pretty good. That's really going to help your lifts. You're going to fail. So, I think we're all pretty excited about what's coming up in the next few days with Michael. Welcome back. We missed you last week.
Miss being here.
Wait, where were you last week? Where did you go? Where were you at last week?
So my wife is.
Oh yeah, okay. Explain that so why weren't you here last week then?
So my wife is. My wife is with child, and she thought we were having the child last week, and so we went to the hospital, and an hour later they sent us home. So they said, you're not quite ready. You're having contractions, but we're not ready to admit you. So we went home, and it's been a week, and now they're like, we're gonna set an appointment for Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. So we're going in tomorrow morning and gonna have the baby.
You couldn't make it with us last Monday because of that?
Yeah. Because we thought
we
thought that going home, she would keep laboring and then maybe have the baby that night, and she was in a lot of pain. So
how do you adapt to that? How do you adjust to that? Like, there's nothing that we can say to tell a woman it'll be okay. Like, what did you do?
I think in that moment, what you're doing is you're trying to provide anything you can, whether it's pillows and just trying to comfort her. There's nothing you can do to make her feel better, but you can make her feel loved and supported with what she's going through. So that's what I did.
What if she said, "Give me a plastic hammer," and you give it to her, and she just bops you on the head? She's like, "This is your fault." You're just like, "Thank you. Just go along your way."
I guess one, my wife would never do that to me, but two, if that happened to someone with their wife. Then yes, you just take it, and you know.
I mean, you're still coming to the gym, so I mean, was it the fact that you were still coming to the gym in the morning because you're committed? Two, you wanted to give her a little space because I know sometimes the women just like they want to be left alone, they want to rest. Or three is you needed kind of a break.
So Monday,
and you can be honest about it.
So
Hannah's cool; she won't do.
Okay, so Monday. She got up at 2 a.m. and she was hurting, and so she woke me up, and so we thought it's going to happen any moment, and so we went to the hospital at noon that day and had the girls picked up by grandparents and gave them their go bags or whatever, and then we got home from the hospital, and so we're like, okay, it's going to be any day, any moment, so we kind of were on edge just waiting and trying to make her as comfortable as possible, and then Tuesday morning came, and she's still hurting, but it's lightening up. And so then by the end of Tuesday, she's like, I feel good. So we got our girls back, and Wednesday morning she went to work, and she worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that's why I was at the gym. She was at work, so I'm at work.
That's gangster.
We had a full weekend, and she was there the whole time. And
that's gangster.
We didn't know what it would be like. So Wednesday night we stayed home from church just to see, because we didn't know. She had just was hurting real bad enough to say we got to go to the hospital. And then now she's like working. So we were kind of,
You were like, can we
yeah.
get some real feelings in here? You want to work? Do you want to have a baby? You want to work? You want a baby?
Well, I want to do whatever she needed to do for her body or whatever. So I was
Smart
supportive
answer.
for that. But
Smart answer.
But the doctor, she had a doctor's appointment on Thursday, and they said if he's not here on his due date, which was on Sunday,
Induced
come in
labor.
on Tuesday morning, and we'll evict him.
I know when you mentioned that, you're like, well, he's going to get an eviction notice on Tuesday. And I was like, I've received a lot of eviction notice. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. But I wonder why they picked the date. If the due date was Sunday, was it Monday because they were probably packed or they're already...
I don't know.
They
Just
don't tell you?
she's full term now, and the doctor, her doctor may not be at the hospital on Monday, but on Tuesday, and so she would prefer to have her doctor deliver her own baby.
So possibly within the next 13, 14 hours, Mr. Michael is going to have his firstborn son, which after raising two beautiful daughters. So what's your expectation? I mean, from what I've read and what we've heard, what's your expectation? I mean, some people say they raise their sons and daughters differently. Are you expecting to go into it any differently?
I think initially no, just because it's going to be a newborn. There's not a whole lot you can do until you get to the 6-month phase where he's going to be crawling or learning to crawl or whatever, and you start seeing more of his behavior by the 6-month mark. And then I think the standard would probably still be the same as an overall standard, but I'm probably going to be a little bit more hard on him because I think like him, he thinks like me. He's a boy, and boys were wired differently. And so because of that, my failures, my struggles are going to be his struggles and potentially his failures. And so there's going to be a personal defense mechanism or a personal charge I'm going to put before him because I've been there. I know what it's like to be a boy. I think like a boy, or whatever. And so for that reason, I'll probably be a little bit harder on him than my girls, but I don't think like a girl. So I don't know how a girl struggles. I lean on my wife to tell me, what that looks like, and then we try to adapt and modify with how that looks.
Oh, I know Jonathan has something to say.
If that person over there is Jonathan for the purposes of this episode, they're not talking near enough.
Oh, because Jonathan will definitely have some opinion on that. Because I think, and I say this with having the fact that I accepted and I kind of adopted two stepchildren that were, they're both past the age of 13. But it would scare me if I were to ever decide to have a kid now, because society and what's out there right now is totally different than when we were, even your generation, my generation. So having the daughters, I think it's been a little bit more consistent over the last few years, the way girls are raised. You have the expectations of a daughter or the expectations of a girl and a woman. But for men, I think it has changed only because of the perspective of how we have to raise them to be the protector, the defender of mankind. Like I know there has to be some kind of biblical sense to show that it's different.
So
Jonathan?
Yeah, well, on the biblical side, I think that's shown too, but at the same time, there's so many people out there that make the argument that there's no difference personality-wise or even physical-wise between men and women. And all you have to do is ask them, have you ever raised a child? Because I'm telling you, you can see it from a young age. And I find it interesting that Michael already is expecting that, never having, raised a boy before, but he's already expecting the differences. There are studies out there that show the biological differences from even birth between male and female. So I might butcher this one. I'm going to try my best to explain it. So
would that include different body parts?
It would, but I'm talking more of the brain. So the brains
James, you're talking a lot more
so
than
neurological
what we expected.
differences.
I don't know who James is, but
The one behind the camera. James.
oh yeah, sorry. We try to keep him quiet, but sometimes he acts up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at a young age, the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain before birth.
Is it looking at them or looking at them from behind?
I honestly don't know. But one's the creative side and one's the problem-solving
I think
side.
their left side would be their left side. So if you're looking at me, it'd be to your right.
My right side, yeah. But anyway, when the child, before it's born, it has these neural pathways, and both sides of the brain are working equally. But when a boy is born, the mother releases a hormone that melt away some of the creative side of his brain, which causes the other side of his brain, the problem-solving side of his brain, to work harder and stronger. And then that same kind of chemical reaction happens in the brain during puberty, whenever more testosterone is being generated in the body. So that's why technically all men are born with brain damage, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's a great argument for every woman that's listening. They're like, yep, that's why.
And I'm
that's
not
why
trying
the
to give y'all
is.
fuel here, but at the same time, it's kind of true, because men are designed in a certain way to where they have to sometimes focus on solving a problem, and they can't let other things distract you or distract them.
Well, have y'all ever watched basketball, men's basketball?
Yeah.
And have you ever watched women's basketball?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Well, without being rude, all things are not
'Cause they can hoop
created
you up.
equal.
Yeah.
All things are not created equal. Now, I officiate girls basketball and I officiate boys basketball, and it is just different. Now, there are some girls that can beat boys in basketball.
All right.
Right? But typically
Overall.
speaking, when you look at the WNBA, the best of the girls, and you look at the NBA, the best of the boys, there's just noticeable differences
Right.
in physical performance. Now, take that for a second. There are things that women can do that men cannot perform at the optimum level. They can't. So, yes, all things are created equal, but that doesn't mean all things are created to do the same thing as the other sex, right?
Equally valued, equally loved.
Sure, all those things. And to me, it just, we got to be careful drawing these hard lines, because everything is not fair. Everything is not equal. We are created equal. That doesn't mean we perform equally. Even you and I, as men, perform differently on the bench press. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Right. And part of it's training, part of it's probably our genes, part of it, stuff like that.
And I'm not going to argue the fact and try to say, well, you have a certain advantage over me. It's just the way it is. I mean, just like you said, that's just the way we've adapted to society. We've adapted to what's, in our natural and habitat each daily. So
have you ever been in the car with your wife and you're trying to figure out where to eat, and then the man's brain works like this? Barbecue. I like barbecue. I choose barbecue. When he has to make a choice, that's his boom. But the lady goes through this process. It's like,
You sound a little bitter, man.
I don't even have a. I mean, I do have a wife.
Don't swipe
anyway.
left on me then.
So
How is your wife?
she's great. Anyway, back on topic.
I'm like, wait, what?
No, but it's like
Jonathan has a wife.
Oh, yeah.
it's like
Role playing. I forgot we're role playing.
yeah. So
I thought he maybe was on Tinder and somebody swiped left on him and he got upset because they didn't want to choose where they wanted to go eat.
I don't know what Tinder is, but continue your story.
me the chicken. Anyway,
Yeah, chicken
Um,
tenders.
so the lady's like, oh, we need to make a decision on where to eat. Okay, well, husband is lactose intolerant, so we can't go someplace with dairy. Okay, also, I'm allergic to peanuts. We can't go to this place. Oh, the traffic on this road is heavy. Oh, this is happening. This is blah, 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 and they just can't make a decision because there's so much information going through their brain all at once, because both sides are equally functioning, creative and problem solving. So that's
true.
why
I mean, I have to agree with you.
it's an interesting study to look into. I wish I could cite some of these sources, but I have actually learned these things.
We're used to that, Jonathan.
But I just
Yeah.
made them all up.
I
No,
wish
it
I was
actually
that
makes
smart.
sense. I mean, that is true. I mean, we both can say that we've been through instances where you're trying to figure out where you want to eat, and like you said, instances. Man, it's those double syllable words always give me. English is my second language, so
That's a triple.
oh, that's even worse.
Instances. Double.
Instances. Yes, CTE before we even started. That's kind of messed up. But anyhow, I guess we can both test two. Oh, that's only 2 syllables. That's why I usually just choose. I just choose where.
But
to
you
eat.
do realize just because something sounds good doesn't make it real or true. He just gave us a bunch of what we understand as some sort of truth that he found on the internet that he could cite, but he doesn't have the citation. And you said, "Well, I could believe that because it sounds right, or it sounds good.
It sounds real.
Sounds real. You know, something can sound real and not be real."
Well,
yeah,
he was basing that opinion off of real life evidence, because
Yeah.
the evidence that he's experienced
Exactly.
supports my argument.
Facts.
Oh.
Facts don't care about your feelings, Michael. I'm telling you what my facts are.
But it is true.
Facts
There are
don't care
things that
about-
people
I have
dress
to
up
choose
and-
every single time where we're going to go eat, so that's facts for me. Now, if you get in a conversation where it's it's debatable, then yeah, you can't tell me, oh, Alex, your wife can choose somewhere to eat when she never does.
I think
so.
everything and anything is debatable. You could debate about anything.
Is water wet?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
Water can be dry.
Water can be dry. It could be
It can be gassy.
gassy. It could be ice
It
water.
could be frozen, or it could be solid.
frozen. Yeah. How they got into that, I have no idea. Anyways, like I said, I wanted to find out earlier. What I was trying to find out from you is that your daughters are older. Your 2 daughters are old enough right now to understand what's going on in life.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart. I've spoken to them. I've seen them, and they do know that a baby brother is coming. Do they understand that they would not be the center of attention for a while?
So somebody else brought that up to me. A coworker of mine was like, "Hey, is it gonna like change your girls' world that they're not gonna be your focus?" And I said, "I really don't know how to answer that because, one, our children were given to us by God, right? And they were placed in our life, not the other way around. Our life doesn't stop because we have children. Our life doesn't just change because we have kids and now responsibilities are shifting,
Right.
and time spent doing other things may modify, but what my wife and I are trying to achieve in life doesn't stop because we have kids. You know, our time is adjusted, but we're not stopping our goal and our purpose because we have kids, because they're going to be gone in 18 years. They are. My daughters and my son will leave the house one day, and our life doesn't just crumble because our kids left. We've got life to live. We've got stuff to take care of. We have a purpose.
It's like the fundamental priorities don't change because you have kids. Now, yes, your kids are prioritized over certain things, but
Sure.
for instance, there's a hierarchy, if you will. In my opinion, the wife is a higher priority than the children. And then
I've heard that, yeah.
Jesus Christ is a higher priority than family. Jesus said, whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, right? So he is the top on that priority list. And then there's, your wife, and then there's your kids. But the fundamental priorities don't change.
And so, talking to my youngest, which she's 4, and she's now not going to be the youngest, and she's going to
Right.
be very much the middle child, and she fits that role perfectly. But they're both excited about having a brother, and they both are just looking forward to just being able to take care of him. They're 6 and 4, so they're 6 years and 4 years apart from where he'll be. Right? You see how I did that quick math?
That's impressive.
So they're going to be old enough to take care of him. They're not toddlers learning how to, potty train or anything like that. They're going to help do certain things, and that's going to be helpful for even, my wife or myself or whatever.
That's
And that's going to be exciting to have them around.
Check my
experience
math
that.
out. By the time he's 2, you'll have a daughter that's 6 and 8, and they can practically babysit for you already when you and the wife want to go out for dinner. That's the way Mexicans do it.
8
If
years
you're
old.
if you're under the age of 10, you can babysit. That's fine. So you already have it made then. But I still do. Like I said, the biggest thing is I still commend you for the challenges that are coming, because from what's going on with social media and
that's
just the expectation. It's different. I kind of mentioned, I shared a quick story with you earlier about how I'm kind of dealing with some stuff at the household with a 17-year-old daughter that's popular, has access to social media. like the way myself and my wife would have handled things back in the days, it's just different because of the interpretation or acceptance of how we want to educate and counsel. We're not trying to discipline her, but it's more of an education chance. But I think it's just what the information out there. It's very tricky. So, I mean, I mentioned to you, oh, you'll be dealing with, I think I said it sarcastically. I said, you're going to be dealing with the same thing, but quite honestly, you may not. Things might change in the next 10 years, or maybe social media won't be as prevalent. Maybe the expectations and difference might change. So I take back what I said to you and say, oh, you're going to deal with it too. You may not. I mean, because how times change, something could
bring new struggles.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it could be worse. It could be better. It could be different.
I guess the thing for me is, I mean, I know you're saying we don't want to discipline, but to discipline doesn't mean to, spank or to
Right.
ground. Or what you're trying to do is get that individual, boy or girl, to understand self-control.
Right.
You're right,
agree.
and that you want a disciplined person, someone who has a grasp of their thought process to then make an action that's a good action. But you want them to reason. You want them to understand what they're doing. That's a disciplined person. And sometimes with discipline, there are consequences for bad actions and
Right.
poor choices. And that discipline, the rod of correction, will help navigate that individual to say, okay, when I made this choice, this was this discipline, this was the result, this is what I got, this is how I was disciplined. And then next time that happens, I don't want that to happen again. So I'm going to choose a different path. And so discipline's not always I'm grounding you or whatever,
Right.
It's
And I mean, you actually said the same point, is that you say, well, if you told me that if I look back to when I was the same age, I could have been doing, items that were worse or not, or, that's not comparable, but the discipline action was.
Comparable.
That word, we're going to put it in, what's the dictionary? thing?
What's the definition?
When you
Spell
compare
it.
when you CARBANATLX. So anyhow, but what I was thinking was the fact that
James is real funny tonight.
oh yeah, I know. Usually he doesn't talk this much. Can we edit his mic?
We like this version of James.
Yeah, we actually. Yeah, kind of actually I do.
Right.
Well, no, I said comparable.
Why does Jonathan
I said
wear his hats like
comparable.
this? Like I can
Oh,
barely
yeah.
see his eyes.
Yeah, I said comparable. Wait, listen. I said comparable.
You
that's
said comparable.
Comparable.
Oh, yeah, comparable. Anyway, so when I look at it, more than likely I was probably disciplined and punished. But like you were saying that, times are different. The way you want to address it is different. So I'm taking that. I'm taking that information hard. It is different.
So new times create new challenges, but does that change the idea of discipline?
Well, James, that is an excellent
Do new
question.
challenges mean that we teach our children to be self-controlled, disciplined individuals?
I don't think
Any
so.
different?
No.
I
How do you approach it though? Because kids,
Yeah.
kids nowadays, and I'm saying this from firsthand experience only because of my now. I feel that they're a lot more sensitive to how you speak to them. I feel that they don't take feedback and constructive feedback. They don't take it as well.
Do you think that's because we've cultivated a culture that we can't address things? We kind of we just
Exactly.
accept things.
Sissified. We've sissified
yeah.
our children.
Yeah, but we
Walking
can't,
on eggshells.
Well, yeah, like we don't address it when it happens. We address it when it boils over to something greater.
Exactly.
Like
I agree.
But if we have
100%.
real forward
100%.
conversations and they're just not abrupt, but they are
100%.
what they are. We're not, training and leading these individuals who are a little soft.
And I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, I think that's the way it is. But it falls on the parent too, because like I was telling my wife earlier, I think we hold as just as much a responsibility for her actions because of the fact that we tiptoed around things, we walked on eggshells, we tried to block her from a lot of what's going out. So it is tricky how to have that 50-50 balance of what you want her to see, what you don't want her to see, what you want her to know, what you don't want her to know. But then how do you navigate through that? I mean, it is tricky.
And on Michael's point, it really blows my mind the difference, though, between parenting now and parenting back even before I was born. I mean, I've heard stories. My great-grandmother, I have heard stories that her dad was overseas in the military, but her mom was sick for months and bedridden. And so at 6 years old, she had to prepare dinner for the entire family.
That's what I'm
a
talking
lot
about.
of siblings.
I agree.
And take care of her mother and watch everyone. At 6 years old, can you
Yeah.
imagine a 6-year-old today doing
That's
anything?
how my mom.
labor!
Yeah, that's how I agree. But that's how my parents grew up. Like I'm saying, I agree with it. I don't think it should be that way now. Which even though there are stories of that.
So what
that
do you
happens
mean
now.
by saying I agree with it?
I agree with the structure, the discipline, the responsibility, the
I
understanding.
agree
of,
that happened.
Yeah, or that agree that happened. No, what I'm saying is that should we put all of the kids through that? But how many 6-year-olds do you know that could actually get up and, functionally make, some eggs and bacon without worrying about burning the house down? Like, none. But 30, 40 years ago, that was like very, very common. I remember waking up, I was cooking breakfast for myself when I was 8, 9 years old. I'm 46 years old, and I know for a fact my mom taught me when I was 6, 7 years old how to make breakfast. So when they were, they had to go work, and me and my brother were by ourselves on the weekend, me and my brother were like, who's going to cook? My brother was 9. I was, 6, 7 years old. We made eggs. I was going to have to calculate. I was like, he's 2 years older than me. But we made breakfast, and we were making all-out breakfast. And then my parents used to do a lot of side jobs, so they'll be gone over the weekend. So we were responsible for making breakfast. We were responsible for making lunch. And we were not doing no DoorDash, Uber Eats. We were making food, So we would make grilled cheese sandwiches. We would do something. So nowadays, no, that's not happening.
Have you heard the phrase, hard times create strong men, strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times.
Yeah.
I think that concept stands true.
I agree.
That happened.
That happened.
That happened in 1974. No, well, that's the to shorten it is all easy is bad, all hard is good. That's the way you look at it. I just minimized everything you just said. Thank you.
I
actually just created that.
I don't think all hard is good. You think it was
Yes.
good? You think it was good for the Jews that were in the concentration camps? As hard as it was, that was a good thing?
All hard is good, meaning that for what was being suffered, the unity and what they created. Because what if it would have changed times and they weren't as unified as they are now? Like people sacrifice the millions of deaths that occurred, but look at the unity of the Jewish community now. Even look at statistically how they're doing fun. What? Hold on. What are we arguing about? Am I confused about something? Am I missing out some numbers? Like,
I need to not look over there.
what?
Oh.
I'm so confused. Wait.
I'm listening.
What?
I don't agree.
What? That? No, but okay, was it preventable? What I'm saying, you have to look at it. Was it if it's not preventable and it occurred, and nothing was learned from it, nothing was gained from it, then
So you're saying that life is better and it was necessary that those Jews had to suffer,
so. Oh,
and that's a
wait.
good thing.
Wait. So why did? So okay. So y'all are helping me understand the whole biblical sense of everything. But listen, biblical. So wait, I'm so confused then. So if we preach so much about what Jesus sacrificed for us, for our sins, isn't that good? So it wasn't hard what Jesus went through?
You said all hard.
Yes, all hard is good.
I don't
Like,
believe that.
How can you not look at that? Like if you had a hard test and you didn't do good.
Yeah, but that does not equate to the Jews.
No. What I'm saying about the Jews, like let's say
But that's
that.
what I'm saying.
No, okay, we're talking about the Jews. If it was taken out of content where they're like, oh well, a bunch of our people died. Oh well, too bad, so sad. Then you don't have nothing out of it. But look what evolved into that community, and look what evolved into their
but
purpose over the years.
So I guess
So
okay,
they
but-
took a hard and they made it good. I
but-
guess that's the way you had to say it. They took a hard and made it good. Does that make more? What hard have you been through that you can't make it good from?
No, there are, but my point is that some hard can produce good results or good fruit. Some hard, not all hard.
What all hard can't produce something that's good?
Okay. So Scripture says that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So all things.
See, he just proved my point.
No, definitely did not. So all things can work together for good. That doesn't make the thing that happened good.
Right. No, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. The action.
That's what needs to be clarified.
okay,
It's not
so-
good that the Holocaust happened.
No.
But it's
What I'm
good
saying
that the
is
Jewish
that
community has
had-
found ways to grow
Exactly.
stronger together through it.
the actions of hard can lead to good. That's what I believe.
The hard times are not the good things. The good things come from if
From
you handle
what you
it
learned,
correctly.
exactly. Because there's nothing you can give an example for anything from life to sports that wasn't hard. You play a team in basketball and they were hard and they whooped y'all. Do you not learn something from that? Either the team comes together, they unify and they say, hey, look, we're going to practice more. That's good.
It's good if they
Or-
practice more, but it's not good if they say, well, it happened. and they
Exactly.
get over
No,
it.
I
So
agree. Yeah,
it's
no.
how you move
That's what I'm
forward
saying.
past hard times.
That's a good
James, you are very intelligent. I've just got to say, you are just a really smart guy.
point. That's hard to accept. But,
I don't agree.
That didn't happen.
yeah, that is not going to happen. So that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
okay,
Don't
that's
get me
weird.
started because I'm
Alex,
like,
you
hey,
almost got
you're-
canceled.
Yeah. I want you to go tell your wife tomorrow when she's hard in labor. You'd be like, "Don't worry about it. It's not that bad."
But that to me is a hard thing that at the end of it comes a good result.
Booyah! I tricked you. That was reverse psychology. Bam! Thank you. 2 points for Alex. Yeah, that's my whole point. I mean, I'll stand by it. All hard or whatever it was, you can find something. Okay, you can find something good out of it. Okay, but no, don't get me canceled on the Holocaust thing because that
Michael did
that's-
kind of
that's,
set you up, though, when
yeah,
you brought
for
up
sure.
the Holocaust.
Yeah, I was thinking of all examples he could have used something like eating healthy, working out. He's gonna go way deep into the whole Holocaust. But I want to clarify. You got me. Yeah, you got me scared.
He wants to clarify.
Yeah, I want to clarify.
Well, did you know that 18 years ago today that Kobe Bryant scored
81 points.
Rest
And-
in peace.
Yeah,
Who scored the most points in a game?
Wilt Chamberlain,
How
100
many?
points. 100 points, Wilt Chamberlain. There's a great documentary on Netflix with Bill Russell where they talk about him and Wilt Chamberlain's thing. So something good to watch. But good point. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that Kobe Bryant's anniversary date of the 81 was because I was watching that game. What year was it? What did you say? How many years ago?
18 years ago.
46. Dang, that's a long time ago.
What year was it?
The year he scored all those points.
24 minus 18 is...
Yeah. So what? Dang, I was young. I actually watched that.
You were
game.
18 years younger.
Yeah, I was 18. How old was I? 18 years younger. Watching this.
is...
Yeah. And Jonathan, be quiet.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I never wanted you on the show, Jonathan. Even though all this
2006.
is yours, but
2006.
oh wow. Okay,
That was 18 years ago.
yeah. I was young.
So, okay, let me
I
ask
agree.
you this. Let's say hypothetically that, my daughters are, they're older and, well, I always wondered, like, how do you handle, like, if they're interested, like, in an older person?
Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing where we're dealing with right now. It's my daughter's 17 years old, and she might be interested in somebody who's older, but in this world, but they're all interested in them online and
That's the part
through
that
the
scares
phone.
me.
They've never met the person. They don't know the person.
Fake
Like,
version of people.
like, how do you know that this person is not a 40-year-old just creep pretending to be someone? Like, so as a father, I want to just basically send this guy some friend request and be like, yo, I swear to you, if you aren't who you say you are, I will find you. I will do the whole, like that movie Taken.
Good
Liam
luck.
Neeson.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Because, I mean, like I was trying to tell my wife, like when we were growing up at that age, we met someone. We actually had a physical, like we saw them face to face. But this was somebody who sent her a friend request, and they just started, conversating, communicating. But you don't know who they are.
Well, I think one thing about all of that is my wife and I are trying to be intentional with our parenting. And so intentionality comes with knowing who my kids' friends are and taking my kids to, church events or school events or whatever events and being involved in their life. But in that involvement, we were talking about earlier, and I think it was a question that James
Jonathan
asked earlier, is about how to train them and how to discipline them even when things are changing. What does that look like and all that? I think where it starts with a parent, one, owning up to their mistakes and even talking about their mistakes in front of their child. Because I've seen it time and time again where, a now parent will talk to their child, hey, you can't do this, but the child says back to them, well, you used to do that when you were my age.
Yeah.
Why can't I do that? And that, to me, that rebellion stems from that parent didn't do a good job or any job at really sharing their failures with their child to build them up and say, I don't want you to make the same mistake. I want you to be better than me,
Right.
And we can say those things, or we can act and show them and have a constant conversation where we're constantly pouring that out in front of them and showing them that we are not better than you. We want you to be better than us.
Better than us, for sure.
I mean, with my 6-year-old, I just, I tell her, I said, baby, I know what you're thinking. And we don't need to think like that. We need to be thinking with purity and joy and happiness and love. We don't need to be thinking like that. She'll just get upset. And she's like, I don't even know why I'm upset. I said, baby, just take a breath. It's okay. Or whatever. And you try to work through that.
I think I'd rather go back to that than what I'm dealing with right now.
I know, but it starts, and unfortunately, and not unfortunately, but like you're at a different spot. You started a different spot than where I'm starting. I started at birth with these girls, and so I'm trying to.
That's the kind of stuff that it needs to be taught at home. You mentioned being involved in school and being involved in church and all those kind of things, which are good, but it all starts in what's taught at the home. And it reminded me of a phrase I heard today. If I just want to see what y'all think about it. It was, the problem in our country is not that God is being taken out of our schools. It's not that God is being taken out of some churches, but the problem is that God is being taken out of the dinner table. And that kind of struck home with me, because it's true. It starts at the home.
See, and that's the thing it's a little bit hard for me to accept because I'm seeing it firsthand. Like all that sounds good, but when you have to apply it, and that's why I give my wife 100% credit because she's practically has raised him, I would say, as a single mother, just because I just feel that there hasn't been enough communication on both sides, and she has done. I mean, she's brought, besides you guys, she's brought a spiritual light into my life. Her upbringing, she's explained to the kids a million times of why she doesn't want them to go through what she has gone through and having to balance school and work, and be able to provide for her household. She was the one who was first, like, we're not using our cell phones at the dinner table. We're gonna chat. How's your day? But then something just comes out from the side that it's unexpected. So I think what's harder for her to understand now is like, where did I go wrong? And it's for me to try to get her to understand that she didn't do nothing wrong. But I do feel that our inability to control what they learn or what they see and what's being educated at their schools, we didn't speak up enough. Because having gone to our kids' school a million times, there's some very, it's not balanced. The views are not balanced. And it's very one way. And I think that generally affects the way that the kids are being raised right now and the way they think of things and the way they perceive themselves. Especially with a son and a daughter. My son wants to get really, really muscular, which is great. I want to encourage that. But that's because of what he sees online. So it's kind of like that balance. You know, my daughter wants to see that she's seen all these guys taking all these girls out on dates, and they're, you know, having a great time, and she wants that. But then how do you balance with, like, you know what, that's not all what it's meant to be right now at your age, you know. Worry about finishing school, you're in athletics, so move. So that saying is great, but I mean, how do you get that to the beginning of them to get understand it? That's why Mike was saying what he's teaching his daughters now, you're on a great path with that, because it starts changing and it starts adjusting. That's hard. I mean, for me to even think about, like, I have no idea what to do. I really don't. I've been watching videos all day about what kind of guidance can I provide, and that's crazy. It's a lot, because it wasn't what we dealt with.
I think one thing that's important about that situation and the position you're in is to not let her think that you're not, like, on her team.
Right.
Because she'll find a teammate in a boy or a friend that's not going to give her good advice or whatever, and she will then take that and think it's good, and then that'll plant a seed in her heart, and then there'll be a lot of rebellion, or there'll be a lot of craziness.
That makes him the enemy.
That makes you the enemy, or whatever, mom or whatever, and so she also needs to feel supported and loved too, and what that looks like, and I don't know, I can't speak to experience on that, but I just know when people are looking for normalcy or you know, really just support, that's what they're going to find it somewhere, and whether it's going to be you and your wife, or it's going to be someone else.
Yeah, because I definitely thought today, when we were kind of first coming up with it, I literally was thinking WWJMD. What would Jonathan Michael do? Because my first instinct was like, I will hunt this dude down. And I already knew the way. I mean, I was already my blood.
That's
was
what Jonathan
boiling.
would do. I don't know about Michael.
My blood was boiling, and I had to tell my wife, I'm not going to search and find who this person is, because, you know, it's a different kind of feeling. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I commend you guys for helping Alejandro learn more. Woosa. Breathe.
And remember the breathing exercises we do together.
Yeah, the breathing, where we hold hands and we just.
Oh, you took it to a whole new level.
We sit in the morning, but and like I said, I still kind of just look at the fact of how exactly what you said was 100% correct. What you said was 100% correct. That you have to be involved. You have to stay involved. Communicate. You have to be open of what's being said and what's expected. Because if you don't get them at that point where they don't learn, then it's not gonna be the same.
Well, I just think there's, you know, my wife taught in public school, and there's really, you know, if the parents are involved in their child's life, more times than not, you saw a child thrive in school when they had parents supporting them in their school efforts.
Right.
And then you tend to see the kids really struggle with school when their parents are absent in their school activities or their home life or whatever. And it was just a general, you know, outlook of life that you can just see it. And I mean, there were times Hannah, my wife, would come home and she would just be in tears because she's got this group of kids that she loves, and she'd be willing to protect. You know, if a gunman came into the school building, we've seen teachers do that time and time again in the last 25 years or so, or probably even more than that, but more prevalent now. And it's like, these kids, the safest place for them to come is to school, because their home life is a mess.
True.
And that, to me, is just, it's sad. And our parents need to realize how important it is for them to get involved in their child's life, because they're raising the next generation of leaders. And what does that look like? We don't need any more George Floyd incidents happening. Well, how do we change that? How do we end racism? How do we end these shootings and these mass murders and all this craziness? We end it by getting involved in people's lives and making better decisions, right? And we've got to start by raising our kids in a way that promotes joy and love and peace. Be a peacemaker. You know, and we all are in competition with each other. We're all wanting better than the next person, and And we're cutthroat on how to get that. And it's like, what happened to loyalty? You know, in construction, we write contracts that are 200 pages long. Why do we need a contract for 200 pages? It's because somebody somewhere
don't have some kind of trust in somebody.
Did not honor their word.
True.
And so now we have 200-page contracts to build a building.
Yeah.
That's just, it's absurd. And we could take that to any different.
Yeah, for sure. Profession.
Profession.
As I used to say, the old school, handshake deal, when you agreed to handshake and you agreed to your word was your word and your bond was your bond. Yeah. I agree. That's why we're trying to figure out how to change it, man. You got my blood all boiled up. Oh my goodness. Oh, baby Jesus. Okay. Whew. All right, I'm good now. Thank you. My therapy session's over. I don't know what else do you have to say. That's why I appreciate you guys. I feel much better. I
thought we were watching Alex have a heart attack just now.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, you would have watched me on Saturday watching the Texans lose, and we still have Baby Jesus up on the counter. I went over there and was like, Baby Jesus, the Texans are not going to win, but just keep everybody safe and everybody will have a good game, and we're good. That's probably not the proper way to use Baby Jesus, huh? I was praying over their safety.
Was that a prayer?
Do you ever say adult Jesus?
Yeah, literally, I don't think baby Jesus exists anymore. He grew up.
I really don't like James. I never liked James from the moment I met him.
The moment you met him.
The minute I met him. I never met like James.
I personally love James.
Yeah.
I think James is a pretty sick dude.
Anyways, back to reality. So I think also with all this, I mean, how do you and your wife navigate those sorts of things? Because that's another component here that we have not really discussed, is you and your spouse being on the same page.
Yeah.
Because when you and your spouse are not on the same page, how are you supposed to instruct or guide or help or support your child who is struggling in whatever situation? Not necessarily this one, but if y'all are not on the same sheet of music, how are you supposed to?
Well, I think it goes with, for me, most of the time that we've had instances, and let me just correct that. What she's going through is it's nothing horrible. It's just that it's new to us that, there might be, a guy in her life, and it's shocking to us because, obviously we always still look at her as, our young and our little girl. Like if she wants to start dating, she has to. She's 17, so it's expected. So I think I had to take the time to kind of explain to my wife, like, she's 17 though, so we can expect this. Now, we also have to have her understand that what the expectations of what she should look at in another man is, I think it's my responsibility. Like, so I want to have a talk with her and say, hey, look, if you want to start dating somebody, this is what I would expect you to look for. I'm not expecting you to find the perfect man, but the respect, the honor, how are they with their family, what are they doing, what their goals.
But does she see that in you?
And there's no reason why she shouldn't.
Well,
because
that's my point.
Yeah.
You should be directing her, one, by showing her the love that you have for your wife. That's the kind of man she should be seeking for her future.
Exactly.
Right?
But does it always happen? No, because
I'm not saying you don't you make mistakes.
I don't make very many mistakes, but I've made mistakes before. But you can also become blind to it, because I think that, if we look back to, we're at that age where we have that first crush, that first love, you'll be blind to everything that's around you in a circle. And it's like whoever that person is giving you that attention and they're letting you know, but they can just be a bad person. And I'm not saying that this other person is a bad person. What I'm saying is that to get her to understand that, break through that first initial, oh man, this guy really likes me, this guy wants to, ask me out or whatever. Break through that and see what they're really about, how they speak to her, how they talk to their, their parents, how they talk to their other friends, what's their, at that age, at 17, what are you doing? Like,
I am not discrediting you or your opinion at all, because I'm right there with you. I would be very, very concerned and, want what's best for her. But I also think about it from a little bit of a different perspective. My mom and dad, now granted this was 25 years ago, 3 years ago, My dad is 7 years older than my mom, and they started dating when my mom was 16. You hear that?
It's a plane.
Oh, there's an
I was
airplane.
like, we hear that? I was like, oh.
They started dating when my mom was 16.
And your dad was?
My dad was 23.
I'm going to pretend like I don't know math on that one. He was 18, 17. I'm not sure if you're trying to help me.
That was more normal. I look at
Oh,
that
yeah,
now,
it
and
is.
it kind of sickens me. I get kind of disgusted thinking about that situation because that's so out of the ordinary for us. And I think it's because maturity level has gone down
Yep.
over time. And so,
Right.
but it is very, just throw that into the mix, I guess. He could be a
So
really
I should be
great
happy
guy.
that maybe something will happen. Then I might have a.
Well, how much older is this guy?
grandson. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, so
He's not in the same grade.
okay,
so-
so what's your line?
What's my what?
Line. If he's 30, is that acceptable? You're gonna say no, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 25,
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
19,
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
So he has to be 17.
For sure.
What if he's 16?
Yeah.
What if he's 15?
Nope. Too young.
So 16 or 19? No, 18.
16 to 18. She's going to turn 18 this year, so 16 to 18. Even then. But that's kind of crazy. Like I said, obviously, me going into this situation, I didn't have the chance to put my philosophy on life and dating up until, she came into my life when she was, 13, 14 years old. And even at that age, it's a little different. So for me, just this short period of time, trying to educate like what I feel like, look, I want to warn you, educate you, and guide you on, as a man who's dated and who's done wrong and has been wronged, and because I think those are life lessons that they should know from the very beginning. And if it had not occurred, like I said with my wife, I think she knew. She's explained to him, the ages she's had birth, but I don't think they've ever explained that dating aspect of it. So, I think the biggest thing is that I am worried about what kind of decisions will be made later on, because
So-
I didn't have a chance to make it as much of an impact as I wish I would have.
Do you feel like you're saying you feel like you're almost at a disadvantage a little bit because you
for
almost
sure.
got a late start
For sure.
on trying to implement some of those things?
Yeah. Hey, I use it as a football analogy. I feel like I'm that backup quarterback that showed up in the fourth quarter and we're down by 27, and everybody's like, "You're gonna lead us to victory." I'm like, "Yo, I'm gonna try, but I can't guarantee anything." I mean, it is what it is. So, but I still think there's a chance. I'm gonna do my best. Like I said, I definitely want to take the opportunity to conversate with her and talk to her one-on-one, and just kind of give her a view of what I feel, men, what boys expect. I think that's what all men should do with their youngins. That
Well,
we all know we
think
have
that's
certain
good.
expectations.
Well, don't write him off either. Initially,
Because he could be good.
Because he could be a good guy.
Yeah.
And he also could be a guy that's coming from a broken past,
Correct.
and that could be the time where you can put some maybe influence on him
I
and help a
agree.
young man out, and he could be a great son-in-law one day or whatever,
agree.
or whatever, and so
I really think what Michael said earlier is like some golden advice, though, which was make sure she knows that you're in her corner.
I agree.
That
I
is,
agree.
that hits pretty deep.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. That's why my approach was that I needed a couple of days to just kind of sit on it. That's why that was the reason what I sent you what the topic was, because I really do appreciate what you guys offer when you have a sense of it, because as one of my New Year's resolutions, I want to be able to start teaching my kids more in a real life scenario and a more of a biblical sense of how understanding what's the expectations and what it is. So that's why I was like, okay, well, I'll wait for this to come around so I can talk to you guys about it, because I know you guys are y'all going to give me some crap, but I know you're also give me some sound advice. So.
Well, I think there's an aspect here too. I think about my father-in-law when I was interested in his daughter, you know, and I was a punk. Like, I dressed like a punk.
I saw that video when you did that video. Yeah, you totally looked like
it.
It
Doesn't matter. But anyways, I think about that, and if I was in his shoes, I don't know that I would have handled it the same way he handled it. And had he had that mentality that I have looking at myself, then I wouldn't be in the picture.
Yeah.
You know, and but he decided to say, you know, this boy needs help. I can help him.
Right.
You know, and how he could have told his daughter, you're not going to date this boy. You're not going to hang out with him. Now, the age wasn't the issue. To me, it would have been the behavior issue.
Right.
You know, and so I just think you have a responsibility to help this young man too, and build a relationship. I mean, again, he could not have ever had a father and has no idea how to be a man, and bring him to the house and this may not be this guy. It could be the next guy or whatever guy, right?
Good point.
And so you may be able to have a great relationship with him, where he's your buddy, and you guys can work together, and you can help mold him into be a young man suitable for your daughter one day. I mean, that possibility exists too. So
no, that's actually great. That's exactly what I'm trying to think. And like I said earlier, I would not be thinking this if it wasn't for my conversation with you guys, because my first instinct was like, oh yeah, I'm about to take him out.
I'm also not saying that you don't have
All
a
hard
reasonable
is good.
concern.
no, I agree with James. I don't think you should not have a concern.
Like, just not let my guard down.
No.
Just, just be observant of it. Yeah. Because at that point, all hard will be good. This is my gangster face.